ESG, again, I think that's touched on every session we've done thus far. Someone said to me, "Oh, this is the do-gooder panel, isn't it?" And I thought, yeah. So I have some people that are doing the right thing. And again, we've heard earlier about Add Net Zero, ESG, what Ozone are doing. But so today I've got a great selection of different people from different spheres. Rachel Ford, who's CEO of Universal McCann, has done some fantastic work with the United Nations and the women's group there. Lydia Moa, who, those of you saw her at our Future of Brands event a couple of years ago, stormed the stage literally, and I had fantastic feedback. So no pressure there, Lydia. Lydia, as well as running her own consultancy in the area of DE&I, also founded the Black Pound report, which showed the power of that community from an economic standpoint. Talking of economics, we have Ian Whitaker, who's sat in the wrong seat, but never mind, you're not sat. Nearly through me. I hope the sound guys are on that. Ian is a city man, so he comes into our jeans and trainer environment with a smile on his face and brings a sharp suit and a sharp pair of shoes with him. Analyst, and has now founded his own advisory company, Liberty Sky Advisors. And at the end, in a very sharp pair of glasses, we have Matthew Birkby, who has spent most of his career on the client side, but running the media side of that client, latterly at Electronic Arts, where I think you had 15 years, 15 happy years at Electronic Arts, and from Zoom Court has got a fantastic skateboard collection as well. So maybe we'll talk about it. So welcome to the panel. So we'll try and talk about some of the issues that might affect about doing the right thing, and indeed whether the right thing is the right thing. So I thought I'd start there with our finance man. I mean, from an investor and financial point of view, is the right thing still a thing?
Oh, definitely. In fact, actually more so. Yeah, and there's a variety of different factors which are coming through on that. So if you take, first of all, there's actually doing the right thing in terms of the impact on brands and the positive impact on brands. And conversely, when you don't do the right thing, the negative impacts of brands, which actually can last quite a long time. So, you think about, for example, in the 80s, in terms of the anti-apartheid sort of movement, Barclays, for example, its brand is still sort of resonating with the effects of that. People still talk about Hugo Boss supplying sort of uniforms in World War II to the German army. I mean, these sorts of things actually do sort of last a lot longer than what people expect. So there is that angle to it. There is also the angle as well from particularly on the ESG side in Europe, the regulations which are coming through, the EU taxonomy, which is saying to investors, look, it is now a regulatory requirement and a legal requirement for you to consider in terms of the ESG practices of the firms in which you invest.
I'm sure everyone in the audience knows what ESG is, but just remind people what ESG is and where it came from.
Sure. So it's environmental sustainability and governance. So when you look at that, actually, you've got sort of several different elements that's within there. But probably the key one at the moment that people are very much focused on are the E and the S part of it. I mean, it really sort of came out of the whole corporate social responsibility movement as well. So it's really a sort of progression from that. The key difference I'd actually say from where sort of things were before is that it's now got legal and regulatory backing and force which is coming through. And what you're seeing now is many institutional investors are turning around and saying, look, we're saying to their companies, you have to do this. This can't just be sort of changes that you make at face value. There's really got to be fundamental changes you make here. But I think it sort of comes back to this point before that said at the beginning. Consumers, when they actually sort of make a choice sort of are on a particular brand, they're thinking about a variety of different things. And if you're seen to do the right thing, then that is one of the things that is going to be key amongst many consumers' minds. So
I saw, again, I saw some backlash around, again, so the E&S element, not supplying weapons to Russia, for instance. Again,
Yeah.
is that something which in your world, and this was obviously was featured within the business pages of the Broadsheet Press, but was it something that was picked up within the investment community as well? And do you think it will expand? So again, rather than fossil fuel, will there be sort of arms added to that?
Oh, well, I mean, it's quite funny. I mean, with the arms element, you actually look at the stocks of arms manufacturers have actually gone up. So, I mean, you know, we can't take things too far. I mean, definitely in terms of investors sort of are far more interested than they were sort of a number of years ago. Again, you know, it's part because of the regulations. It's part also as well. Bear in mind, people who work in financial markets tend to react very well to incentives. So, you know, when you're looking at things, for example, new categories of funds to go out to individual investors, you're focused around sort of ESG issues. That's becoming very popular because consumers are interested in these particular issues as well. And funds realise that that's actually potentially a new source of revenues that maybe wasn't there before. You know, the Terry Smith thing, for example, in terms of you know, when he criticised Unilever in terms of, you know, doing the sort of woke issues. I mean, yeah, my view on that is, quite frankly, it's what they call in politics a bit of a sort of throw the dead cat on the table. Yeah, everyone focused very much in his comments about Unilever in terms of what they did, but what they didn't focus on was the fact that essentially that was a poor performing stock for Terry Smith and brought down his performance. So essentially, it diverted the attention away from his performance and put it onto Unilever very successfully, you might argue.
Okay, so yeah, Lydia, let's go again. That arms stocks are up. Yeah, whereas ESG there, Unilever, are words speaking louder than actions at the moment, in your opinion? Do you think? Do you see all of these great words, all of this again, all of this energy that goes into ESG? Do you see it actually turning into actions?
I mean, what I would say is that the Black, Asian and multi-ethnic consumer are very informed. I call them the hybrid consumer. It's not like before where the onus was on the business. It's now, I feel, and what I see from the statistics within the Black Pound report, there's so many defining factors that will make a firm decision before that, you know, before the multi-ethnic consumer will invest. So words years ago were fine, but they want to see it followed up by deeds. And if they're not followed up by deeds, then it's followed up by a particular action that's informed by the consumer. You know, they will communicate with one another, and they will inform each other's decisions more than even advertising can do. Especially with the multi-ethnic consumer, because of so many years, they felt that there was more improvement that could have been done in understanding who the multi-ethnic consumer is, what their desires are, what their needs are, to have a better relationship with them and not to do sort of stereotypical type of communication. Does that make sense? So, yeah,
totally. So, but again, So, I don't want to say, are we moving fast enough? Because that.
We're moving. We're moving. We're moving, but we need to keep on moving.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you seeing within that diverse community at different speeds? Are there? Yeah. Again. So we talked. Yeah. Before the Pink Pound report was probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that now.
It's informing things and changing things.
Absolutely doesn't seem to be something. But again, within other communities, are there different speeds?
Look, there are. All I can say is, like, for example, with the Black Pound report, it's the most comprehensive survey that's ever been delivered in the UK, and also by someone that looks like me for number one, and that made a huge difference. So it's 4.5 billion is the disposable income of the multi-ethnic consumer. That's, so if you look at society, that's sort of 16-18% of the economy that's represented there. So we're in 2022, and I'm really happy that through this adversity, I've created something amazing to do this report, but we're in 2022 and still having to do this work. So what I suppose my direct way of saying is things need to progress and businesses definitely need to move forward. You can do the right thing and also make money. We're not asking, it's not a charity. The Black, Asian and multi-ethnic consumer aren't a social cause. It's business, it's commercial. They've got skills, they've got abilities, they've got so much to add to a business. They're human beings like everybody in the audience, So everybody wants to feel that their needs are being met, and everybody has concerns from different cultural backgrounds. So you need to think about where goods are sourced, and that makes an impact. If a business has some racially insensitive adverts or communications, or someone said something online that represents the business, but the business haven't actually said it, but a member of staff has. That recently happened, didn't it, with I think it was a housing, like something like Barrett's or something like that.
Yeah.
Someone from there regarding football had said something online, and that had a major effect because everybody was hunting this person down. They wanted to know who this person was. They looked at them on Twitter, and it had a massive impact. So what I mean to say is that consumers have got power and businesses do as well. So the better they come together, the more they can come together, the more that they can come to understand each other, you'll see a difference. Because you see boycotts are happening.
Yeah.
And it's a serious thing.
Yeah, we talked about the investor audience, talked about the consumer audience.
Yeah.
Matthew, I was wondering from the client side again, where you are in control of multi-million, but how much does the internal audience actually influence and what Lydia was talking about there, where employees might be putting pressure on the marketing department to actually not spend or spend in certain areas?
I think it's more than that. If you think about conceptually where growth's going to come from, growth is driven by really two audiences at the highest level. That's your consumer, but also the best work is driven by the talent internally. And actually, certainly within my previous employer, talent requests this, it desires it. It's if we think about inclusion and sustainability, it's a fundamental thing that is part of what the workforce want. They want to take part. They want to see you as a brand stand up and represent what they stand for. And so what I would say is it becomes more material. We are challenged as leaders by our employees to, I don't want to say do the right thing, because it's more than the right thing. It's the thing that you should do. And so what certainly over the last 15 years, when I was at EA, the change from something that wasn't talked about, that at the most senior levels, it wasn't discussed, it wasn't talked about in town halls, through to the last couple of years, businesses are now, and certainly Electronic Arts as is, stand up and make a difference. And that's at every level, and I'm sure every organisation has its ERG groups, has its sustainability groups, very much to drive this forward. And I think if you don't have that in place, you won't attract the best talent. It's so important. And talent was mentioned on an earlier panel. It's critical for everything. And I think investors, to your point as well, will see this as well. I certainly feel, we were challenged a couple of years ago when Facebook had its issues, challenges. I would say they haven't gone away. But, and we were asked directly by the employees what we were doing, and it was discussed in town halls specifically to employees. I'd also finally say is, from a product point of view, we have to represent the world.
Yeah.
There are, people buy our games, and to your point on somebody, the Barrett's piece, EA Sports, and this is well documented, so I'm not speaking out of turn here. They have banned people from not just FIFA, but from the entire EA portfolio of games who have racially abused people. And in fact, they've not hunted, but they've looked out for the right person, and they've banned someone who specifically was abusing Ian Wright.
Yeah.
Now, that's not necessarily about driving profit, because that person would be spending money. It's about doing the right thing. And the next generation of talent needs that from us. So I think it's really important.
Yeah. Rachel, again, you've been very quiet so far. Yeah. You're the as media agency, you're guardian of client budget. Have you seen shift over the last decade or so as to different briefs coming out asking whether it be stop funding hate or spending money positively?
Yeah.
What examples have you got?
Well, can I just answer just a point around talent? 'Cause for me personally, talent is crucial. And I just want to build on the point that I think whereas leaders, historically may have been the behind the change, I think now employees are demanding that there is change. And I did bring a stat, because we ran some research for the IPA a little while back that explored, what are the main drivers behind, because it's a talent piece behind entry-level talent. And it showed that 80% of entry-level talent seek an employer who has an ethical and a sustainable approach. So we all know the war on talent right now, and, so if you don't have a point of view, which is also like how you then represent clients, or an action plan to represent clients, then around ethical practice, then we are going to, miss out on the best people. So I do think it is really important. It is an internal piece. And then, sorry, because I just wanted to give some stats. The other one is the World Economic Forum. This wasn't my question, but I will answer the question that wasn't my question in a sec. But I do think it's important that, from a talent point of view, the World Economic Forum, they looked at companies with above average diversity scores, and they drive 45% average revenue from innovation, while companies with below average diversity scores drive only 26%. So I just think it's just making it's really important throughout to be doing the right thing. To answer the question that wasn't my question, we do...
You've answered about 3 questions.
Well, no, but I think this is somebody else's question. But anyway, yeah, as an agency, we have the kind of the privilege and the responsibility to be a force for good. Our talents expect it, that's why we get the best talent, and our clients expect it because it becomes now the number one conversation in any new creds pitch now. What's your stance on sustainability, etc. So it's crucial, but also though it is this D's not words. So how then do we help our clients? So we have something called Better World Media. We have a Better World Media directory, a marketplace which actually seeks out underrepresented groups to make sure that actually we are diverting advertising dollars into those marketplaces and platforms that need the money, and also the allies within that space. And you think about some of the stuff we've done with Galdel and Gay Times and etc. These organisations would not exist without our investment. So I do think as an industry we have a responsibility to drive these platforms.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really good use.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back a bit on that. So Lydia, again, you mentioned the word boycott, and Ian talked about the Barclays boycott.
Yeah.
When I was a student back in that time, and he's right. I think you're right. It's a real there's a campaign that's got a lasting effect, isn't it? It's still known as Barclays in some cases. But do you think ad boycotts can work, and should they be used? Yeah, so I know I've got a libertarian view on the stop funding. Yeah, what one person's hate is next person's belief, isn't it? So there's really when the Daily Mail is always the one that goes to the top of that list. Which, but isn't that harming free speech? So can boycotts work? Should they be used more? Or should we be looking, as Rachel's talking about, positive energy?
Okay, so you've thrown 3 questions at me there. So
absolutely. I will let you answer.
You're going off feast.
I will let you answer to all 3. Yeah.
Okay, so I just thought, because I knew you were going to throw 3 questions at me at once, because when we was preparing for this, you did that a lot. So, with regards,
not just 3.
Not just 3, and you've been telling us to keep it to time. Come
on,
trying to panic, here.
Energy.
But with regards to, I'm just going to refer back to the Black Pound report and share some insights which haven't been shared before. So 62%. These are things that would stop a multi-ethnic consumer. So Black, Asian, multi-ethnic. That's mix everybody. Okay. So this is what will stop. And we did a comparison against the national population as well. So 62%. If they see an organisation that is discriminating against their staff, so we're talking about talent here as well, that would make them either not want to work for that organisation, go online to ensure that they're, I don't want to say smearing them, but in a way that is probably the end result, isn't it? So that's an element of boycotting. We've got, for example, things like when it comes to racially insensitive, these are the causes that cause people to boycott a brand. But then also, most people know about Henny's with the monkey on, or the Gucci, the blackface jumper, all of these things that were, that have happened. Also Boohoo, all these different brands. Sorry to highlight them, and if anyone's from these brands in here, I apologise. I'm only just highlighting to you what the 3,500 people that we interviewed had said. And the reason why they felt that boycotting was important is because they felt they couldn't wait around for long enough for the businesses to do, else we title the thing here today, to do the right thing, to be ethical in their decision making, to ensure that they're being, inclusive all the way through. I've got an issue with diversity sitting with HR. I think it's a big problem because all of a sudden you've got HR over your head and all of a sudden you're holding yourself back because although HR is a great tool for a business. At the same time, if diversity sits there, it's kind of like defeating the object because it happens to be a business
I think
objective.
Helen from Redicon talks sustainability is
Yeah,
similar, isn't it? Again,
yeah.
It should be across, it should be everyone's job.
Yeah. So ideally, we don't want people to be boycotting, but it happens, it always has done throughout history. So I'm not too sure it's going away, but I think when businesses have the courage and are informed and are educated about, what do we need to do specifically for our business, because for each business, it will be different. We all know that profit lines are important, and that's why I created the Black Pound Report, because I was surprised when I walked into a store and I inquired, look, can I have some makeup? I was with my white friend. She's still white. I've known her since I was 8 years old. And we both walked into a store and the lady said, look, sorry, we only stock brands for normal colours, and I was like, okay. My friend was holding my wrist. I was like, okay, it was fine. It's time to leave right now. And I just thought, how is this possible that I've walked into a store in my 20s, and we're talking 20 plus years later, that it is improving. It is improving. I can't say it's not, because I live in Surrey, and the other day I walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Fenty. I looked really emotional. As a woman said, are you okay? I was like, I can buy makeup. And that, that's how important it is, because I might not always have the time to travel to an area where a black-owned business is. I might not always want to purchase it online. I might want to go in and test and make sure it's the right. That's just talking about makeup.
It's a really good positive.
Yeah.
Matthew, let's go back to your media, and specifically from a media investment point of view.
Yep.
Were there times when you took a positive investment rather than a boycott, somewhere where you went, right, we are going to spend money in this area because we're going to try and make a positive change? Or instruct, was it on a client, was it on an agency brief somewhere?
I think, what I would say is that when we think about the investment overall, there are particular products where we may want to invest, and if we lump in influencer within the media world, and it's a whole other panel, but it's obviously shifting into that space. I think what I would say is that we've seen investments to raise people's voices, so actually investing in those particular creators, influencers who may not have necessarily the voice, the exposure, the reach that they would have organically, and we have put money. And the brand that I've formerly worked for, which still feels a bit peculiar to me to say, that I formerly worked for, very actively goes out and seeks that, because we believe, and I believe, and the whole organisation believe, that actually we need more voices out there. Now, when we think about media investment, as I was leaving, what we were really focused on was, to Rachel's point of view, was, okay, so our programmatic investment potentially is actually not putting dollars in the right places. And so working with another holding group, very much starting to shift those dollars into a PMP program, very much to make sure that the dollars get to the right places.
David Reeve would be pleased to hear that. Premium publishers.
But not necessarily premium publishers. It's publishers that maybe your block list, whatever, may or may not have been blocking the media investment. And I think that is something that not only was important to us as a media group, but actually we were able to say that to the rest of the business. We're actively doing something at this moment. So when you say, we want to raise up people's voices, have that aspect of it, we want to make sure that the investment goes to I don't want to say the right publishers, but it's just distributed in the right places, and that we're not actively holding back investment.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Anyone got a question for the panel? No? All right. Nothing yet. Have a think about what you might like to ask this theme panel. I've got
Don't be scared. Come on.
plenty more questions here.
We've got questions.
I mean, again, I'll take the contrarian view, Rachel, as you might imagine. I mean, is there a danger that agencies and indeed brands, just jump on the bandwagon and get too much involved? ESG, DSI. I mean, should brands be allowed to choose a cool celeb, so to actually identify one area that they want to go after, or do they have to be all things to all people?
Well, I'm not sure you can call any of those things fads. Feminism or anti-racism, I mean, that would sit uneasy. I would have thought with most people in this area, and I know you just provoke, a bit of provocation, but I think it can be really, really powerful when brands and agencies do get behind causes. And we've seen, think about Michael, like Mattel, they brought out a Barbie range, which is actually to reflect diversity. So the Barbie on a wheelchair is the one that actually sells more than anyone. You think about night campaigns they created with Colin Kaepernick and Serena Williams. These are really, really powerful campaigns that I don't think anybody would ever see as a fad. These campaigns are actually promoting people's well-being and opportunities in life. So absolutely, they're not fads. And I think actually, though, for this room, I think actually what's even most powerful is when actually brands and agencies in the industry can get behind particular initiatives to make an impact and actually cross-agency. Because obviously, we should all be having better media world marketplaces. We should all be thinking about consciously where
let's ask that question differently. So are you saying to clients, you must do all of these things, or are you saying, is there an opportunity for a planner or a strategist to say, right, okay, consumers expect this, so which one are you most comfortable with, and let's spend money there?
Each business is going to have to...
Yeah, I mean, you might have something that's sits more, but I think what we do, okay then, from an agency point of view, I think we have to help and consult brands on their entire kind of communications and actually have levers and actions that can actually help them making a meaningful impact. But it's also, what I'm saying is we can't just do it on our own as an agency.
No, you can't.
If you think about in the industry, we've got like the Conscious Ad Network. So Jake Gubbins doing brilliant work. That's a cross-industry piece. Lydia, yourself, Creative Equals, like Creative Equals run Accelerate around actually promoting black talent. I've got some more stats as well if we've got time for
No
stats.
more stats.
Oh, no, but around
I'm going to go to Ian.
But around stats,
I'm going to show you.
I know,
Ian's my stat man. You're here.
No, this is my second panel today. I came from the Ad Association, did their whole front foot advertising through the pandemic numbers. And I think the All in initiative that was led by Catherine Jacob and Sharon down at the AA shows actually what we are capable when the industry comes together as a whole. I've said my piece. Is that okay?
Thank you. Very good. Ian, do you think, so again, you look at, you don't just look at the advertising and brand sector, you look at wider sectors. So are we leading the way? Are we being led down a garden path? Is it a fad? Will we be talking about something else? I mean, if you came to a Mediatel event 5 years ago, ESG was not heard of. There was probably something around, and it could well have been around green issues, they were called there. So again, do you think we'll move on from this, or is it, as you say, the long-lasting effect of bad behaviour is well documented? But how do we keep the city involved in our good behaviour?
Well, I don't think we'll move on for it. Again, go back to that point before. I mean, these things have a long-term sort of resonating value. So if you seem to be doing something that is not great, is wrong, you look at what's happening with the war in Ukraine. Firms like Nestle, tried to continue to do business in Russia and then got absolutely slammed. And again, they are suffering sort of a consequence of that. So what would say is, it's definitely not going to be a fad. It's definitely going to continue. I think firms are definitely going to go sort of down this route. If I was going to do and I know time is running short, if I was going to say one thing that is slightly throw the hand grenade in there.
Go for it.
Where
we like hand grenades.
Not a hand grenade. There are many things that essentially firms know are right. The risk, I think, becomes in certain situations where firms can be seen going into politics. And I think for firms, that's really when it becomes, as it were, the third rail, because the potential that you're moving from there is saying, that we essentially are supporting something that everyone knows fundamentally is right, to oppose where some people have got strong views along the spectrum. And I think at that point, firms just have to maybe take a step back. That would be I think the classic example there, I'd say, is Disney. If you look at what they've done in the controversy there, biggest thing they should have come, from my standpoint as a corporate, was they should have had a clear line one way or the other from the start. Their mixing of the messages really has just annoyed everyone in terms of their customers. And the risk becomes there is that if, for example, you get a boycott, let's say Disney Plus, in terms of the streaming service, and I know we've got a short amount of time.
We'll cover that tomorrow.
Well, one of the key KPIs that people look at is subscriber growth. Now, in the overall scheme of things, if 500,000 people churn off because they don't like, what you've said on politics, for 220 million subscribers, that doesn't matter. But if you're targeting, let's say, 2.5 million subscriber growth for the quarter and 500,000 churn off, and then essentially that's the difference between you making your numbers and you're not, then your share price, as you've seen with Netflix, can be down 35% in a day. So, you know, that would be the caveat that I would have. But this is definitely not a fad. This is very much going to continue.
We're good. Come again. Thank you. Right. Chance for a question. Yeah, we have halfway down. And
Thank you. I'm Sophie. I'm from Talon Outdoor. I had a question. Maybe, Lydia, you might be best placed to answer this one. A couple of years ago when Black Lives Matter was escalating and causing a bit of a ripple throughout the industry, there was a manifesto that went around, I think, that people were signing and businesses were signing up to. But there were a lot of businesses actually that turned around and said, I'm not going to sign that because it's not tangible enough and it's words, it's not deeds, as you were talking about. You know, what's your view on those businesses that do turn around and say, actually, I'm not going to sign that? Or is it just, you know, no harm can come from signing it? Or would you sort of agree with not signing it?
so this is the Creative Equals report. Yeah. So, okay, Lydia, we'll let you do that. So should you sign up for it anyway, just to support?
I mean, I was consulting with Creative Equals at that time when that manifesto came out. And I think it's about how you measure something that's tangible and how you measure something that's intangible. So something intangible could be, you know, for example, like the goodwill of the business all of a sudden goes up. People feel that, you know, okay, my business is behind this, going back to your point that, you know, employers have a point of view and they want the CEOs, decision makers in the business to say, look, we're putting our stake in the ground, this is what we believe in. But ultimately, you know, at the end of the day, there's so many words out there, we do need to see action. So you need to say, okay, have a measurement tool there. Just say, if you're going to sign this, this is what we're going to achieve by 6 months' time. And if you decide not to sign it, you can't attack everybody. Everybody's going to have everyone's going to have their opinion. You know, we're in a free speech society, aren't we? And we can't chase after everybody. So I don't know if I'm giving you the answer you require to hear. What advice would you give to a company that decides not to sign it? If they decide not to, first of all, ask the question, what's the reason you're not signing it and what are you prepared to do? What is your positioning in this space? What is, you know, look at your organisation, what needs improving within diversity and inclusion? Because I'll just finish this by saying, nobody wakes up in the morning and goes to their prospective place of business and says, I cannot wait to be isolated today. You know, nobody wakes up in the morning and says that. So you've got to think about, we've got so many people in business, different backgrounds, different cultures, different experiences that are forming people's decision making. You know, all of that comes into play. So it's not so simple, is it? That's why it has to be continuous. I would say for every business to put a stake in the ground and, you know, let their employees know, let their stakeholders know what position they take and then, you know, and then go for that. Because you can't, by not making a decision, you're already making a decision. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, well, let's end with a quick fire one, a yes or no. Yeah. Okay. Was Elon Musk right to buy Twitter?
Oh my gosh, keep me out of it.
Well, his share price has gone down in Tesla, so no.
You've taken Ian's answer.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. You'll have to think of another one.
Gosh.
Lydia, yeah.
Can you ask me another question?
No, I'll move on. Ian.
Was he right to buy Twitter? Don't know.
Will he run for president then? Yeah.
Will he run for president? I don't think he can because he was born in South Africa.
Right. Yeah. Good knowledge. Yeah. Matthew, was he right to buy Twitter? And are you concerned?
I'm very concerned.
Very concerned.
Is all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Very concerned.
Yeah, that's another panel.
That is another panel.
I've managed to get Media Common Essence in and Twitter and so okay. That's my job done for the day. I can now relax, change my batteries. Please join me in thanking the panel.
Right.